How to spin our support spindle edition. This video is brought to you by Camp Yarnsie. Join us for all types of exciting virtual events and meetings. You can knit along with us on Monday nights, spin around on Wednesdays, and Thursdays is our open craft night. You can get the links to all of our events and virtual festivals at our website, which is yarnsie.com. Now, did you know? The hand spindle dates back to at least Neolithic times, and it continues to be found at archaeological sites around the world. Various types of support spindles have been an important textile tool for cotton production in Tibet, India, Africa, and Central and South America. And many support spindles are still commonly used in Central Asia, Russia, and parts of Europe, such as Bulgaria. So, how do you spin with a support spindle? Well, today we're going to cover a few topics. The first being, what is it? What is a support spindle? Second, we're going to talk about the supplies you will need to get started spinning with a support spindle. You're going to learn how to spin on a support spindle. And finally, if you need help, where can you go to get help? So let's get started. So just in case you need a refresher about spindles, don't forget about Camp Yarnsie's Get Started Spinning Spindles 101 episode. In that episode, we cover the different types of spindles and what you will need to find, such as weight, etc., based on the yarn you want to spin. You can locate the link to this video in the details section for this video. Now, what is a support spindle? Now, support spindles come in a variety of sizes, such as the very large Navajo spindle, the very small and extremely fast Tockley for spinning cotton, and the tiniest Orenburg spindles for spinning gossamer lace yarns. So most supported spindles rest with the tip right here, rested on a thigh, on your thigh, on the ground, on a table, or in a small bowl while rotating the spindle. Now, these types of spindles, meaning support spindles, are usually used to produce a woolen style yarn. Now, this spindle can be manipulated with one hand as fibers are spun using a long draw, either supported or unsupported, or a little bit of both. So supported spindles make a great tool for spinning short staple fibers, such as cotton, yak, camel, and cashmere. Now, most supported spindles can be loosely classified into 4 various categories, and I'm going to throw a 5th one in there because I think Navajo should be as well. So you have Tibetan, Russian, Pong, Tockley, and Navajo. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. Just like the English language, there's always those exceptions. So there are some spindles out there that have just been interpreted differently, and they might be spin-offs from existing styles and might combine 2 or more of these styles together. So briefly, this is what a Tibetan spindle looks like. In Tibet, there are several different styles of supported spindles, which have different uses. They're used with different fibers. So traditionally, the Tibetan spindles are used to spin yak, goat, and sheep fibers. As a group, these spindles are recognized for their sustained and balanced spin, which is great for a beginning support spindler. Now, one thing to caution is they do become heavier and harder to spin as that cop of spun yarn grows around the shaft. Tockleys. Now, this spindle originated from India, and the word Tockley means spindle in Hindi. These spindles are designed to spin cotton. They are small, lightweight, often made of metal, and spin very fast. Russian spindles. These are lightweight and have a very short spin time. So these spindles spin very fast also. Despite the need, you have to flick them and flick them a little bit more than the rest I've mentioned to maintain their speed. Now, these spindles often spin better as they fill with yarn. Now, pong. Yes, P-H-A-N-G is pronounced pong. Now, these spindles are simple in shape. It can be described as a stick with a bulge, and they vary a lot in how they spin. Now, this is based on the structure of how they're made. Some need constant flicking, some have a more sustained spin. It really depends, again, on how it's made. So one example of a popular pong spindle is the Bristol Cone Goddess spindles. And the last support spindle I'm going to mention is the Navajo spindle, which is generally used to make thick wool singles for weaving rugs. So this spindle rests on the ground and is rolled along the thigh to produce a twist. Now let's cover the anatomy super quickly here. You have the shaft right here, and this is a Russian style support spindle. Here is the cop, which is the yarn that starts to wrap around the shaft. Here is my support bowl, and here is the tip, and of course here is the spindle itself. So now that we've covered what it is, let's talk about what you'll need to get started spinning with a support spindle. So to spin with one of these types of spindles, you of course need the spindle, and you'll need some fiber. Now, this is going to be an interesting recommendation for some of you out there. Now, Amelia Garapoli of Ask the Bellwether, when asked what fiber she would recommend for people using support spindles, and starting off using the support spindles, I should say, she said because support spindles are typically paired with fibers shorter and finer than wool. So these support spindles are made for materials such as yak and cotton, camel, etc. that have a shorter fiber staple. You might actually want to try spinning with cotton. Now, cotton is much harder to spin. However, cashmere, yak, and other exotics are going to seem much easier after you learn how to spin on cotton. It's kind of up to you there. Again, when in doubt, I would use a little bit of wool, but maybe get a little sample too of cotton. It's up to you. And the third thing you're going to need is a bowl or some type of supportive surface for it to spin on. Now, if you're lost again about how to shop for spindles, check out our video of Spindle Spinning 101. Also, if you're starting to shop for fiber and you have no clue what all of these words mean, bats, slivers, etc., slivers, etc., check out our video, Shopping and Selecting Fiber. This is part of Camp Yarnsie's Beginning to Spin series. So now that you got your supplies, let's talk about learning how. Step one, of course, we're always going to pre-draft. Now, pre-drafting the fiber. The first thing you're going to do is to find the staple length. So pull out a small sample from the end of your fiber. This will tell you how long the staple length is. Why is this information important? This tells you how close your hands need to be when spinning. If your hands go further apart than that, more than likely that staple will break because it's unbalanced. So think of this as like a boundary zone. So our second step, if you need to, tear into smaller strips. If you have some things such as a bat, roving, etc. And then you're going to gently and slowly draft out a little bit of those fiber strips. Just open it up a little bit before we actually start spinning. If you need help, check out our video, Pre-Drafting Your Fiber. Step 2, we're going to talk about twist direction. So, let's think for a moment. How do you want your yarn to look? Yarn is made up of either a single strand, which is called a single. So think of a single as one thread. And this is an example of what a single looks like. An example of a commercially manufactured single would be something such as Malabrigo worsted. Now, to create a more durable yarn, we'll ply multiple singles together to create a plied yarn. The more plies, the rounder the yarn becomes, the more durable it is. So think of plied yarn as having 2 or more singles or 2 or more threads that come together. Now, you can knit and crochet with either single spun or plied yarns. This is really just how you would like it to look. Now, today we're going to demonstrate how to make a single. And for that reason, we're going to be spinning clockwise. I'll remind you of that later. Now, why is twist important? So in a brutally simplistic definition, when you spin, you are twisting fiber into the yarn. So what does that do? Well, twisting the fiber gives the yarn its strength. So I'm going to go through a very, again, brutally honest but simple explanation of this. So today we're going to be spinning clockwise. There's a couple of ways you can think about this. You're going to spin one direction if you're going to take singles together and ply them later, or if you plan on just using that single, you're going to spin a different direction. Now, we have an upcoming video that will talk all about this, so don't stress, but I just wanted to introduce you to the S and the Z twist. Today, again, we're going to be spinning clockwise because we're making a single. And this is the video I'm talking about that's coming out soon. So check out our video, Yarn Twist Matters. So why does yarn split? Did you know your knit and crochet style affects the twist in your yarn? So like I said, whether the yarn is spun clockwise or counterclockwise, how you knit, for instance, if you are a thrower or continental, that will either keep the twist in the yarn or it can take twist out of your yarn, and that's why the yarn splits. So this upcoming video will also help you too when shopping for commercially available yarns. You will know what works best for your style of knitting and or crocheting. And yes, it's different for crocheting how you yarn over that hook. But let's keep going. Step 3, making the yarn. So with a support spindle, how do you make the yarn? I know it seems like a duh question, but let's talk about it quickly. All right, there's this thing called the drafting triangle. Now, the more fiber you have right here at this point coming out, the wider the triangle, the thicker the yarn. So think, I like them big and bulky. Yeah, the bigger and the bulkier you have here, the chunkier your yarn is going to be. Now, with a support spindle, while the spindle's rotating here, this motion of that spindle twisting gives you the twist, because twist, energy is never created nor destroyed, right? The twist travels up through the yarn. Where you're pinching it creates this yarn baby right here. So again, this is the fiber, and as you twist that spindle, it adds the twist into the fiber. So that is how yarn is created. Much easier than the birds and the bees, right? Now, I'm going to go through the steps of what we're going to do, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice spinning the spindle naked. Ooh, sneaky. What I mean by that is take your spindle and find the bowl or the surface that works for you. Now, I had to work up to my support, the actual bowl that I purchased for my support spindle. I found there were a couple of options that worked better for me starting out, but then I was able to get to that bowl. Now, it's helpful to remember too to spin your spindle at a 45-degree angle. So you're going to practice spinning, meaning flicking your spindle at a 45-degree angle. If you find you start flicking it across the room, which will happen, you gotta laugh, you gotta let it go. Try when you start again, make sure you either tip it again at that 45-degree angle or overcompensate it. Because a lot of times when you send it flying, it's because you've started it more in an upright position. And don't forget to flick your shaft in a clockwise direction, which is as you're looking down at it, because this will give us our single today. Because we are going to make a single yarn. Now, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to attach a leader and spin to build up your twist. Now, you can make a basic leader by using any kind of scrap yarn, etc., and just tie a little knot in it, and I'll show you how to put it together. So you're going to attach your leader to the top, here, and you're going to twist. Now, remember, as you twist, it's going to send energy, which is in the form of twist, through this leader. You're going to fill it up with a little bit of twist, and then we're going to, shocker, are you ready for this? We're going to attach the fiber to the leader, and again, spin to build up the twist. Because remember, yarn cannot be born without the twist. Then we're going to park and draft to build up our yarn bebe. And then we're going to build that cob. I really think it should be cob, like corn on the cob. I don't know why. Every time I get to this, I always think of corn on the cob, or I could just be hungry. But we're going to build that cob, which is what is the new yarn down here. So you're going to wrap the yarn around the shaft as we go. Now I wrap mine in kind of an X format. It helps it to kind of stay on there. It helps me to kind of make it more centrifugally correct. Makes it spin a little bit easier. And again, I will talk about that. And here we go. Are you ready? So I know you're saying already. Don't tell me, show me. So let's do it, shall we? Now let's spin on a support spindle. This is a support spindle. I purchased this particular one from Wild Stitchers. This is similar to a Russian style support spindle. Now, like any support spindle, it has a tip which you balance to spin on. This particular spindle has a notch towards the top, and it is made of aromatic cedar. I also purchased a support bowl from Wild Stitchers as well, which is also in that cedar. Now, there are all kinds of different style spindles available. Very similar to drop spindles, the weight of the spindle will depend upon the weight of the yarn. So if you have a very light spindle, you'll be spinning lightweight yarn. Heavier spindle, heavier yarn. This is actually a more appropriate for anything from heavy sport to DK to worsted. This is a medium weight spindle. Now I will also apply fingering weight singles. So if I have two fingering weight singles I'd like to apply together, I will use this spindle for that as well. Now, one thing you have to take the time to play with the support spindle, no matter if you're an experienced spinner or not, is to practice spinning it. Now, I use my dominant hand to spin with. This is because I need the strength of that hand to spin. Now, I would try for this demonstration using your dominant hand, so the hand you write with, to spin your spindle. Later on, if you find that you need more control in your fiber supply, then I would start trying to then spin with your non-dominant hand. I find it's easier for me. I need more speed here, and it's easier for me to draft with my left hand. So whatever works for you there. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to be spinning clockwise so that we're on the same page. And again, start off with practicing. What you want is you want to get that spin, and you want it to be resting somewhere here while it's spinning. You spin it from the very top. I use my index finger and my birdie and thumb in a flicking like motion. I flick outwards, some people flick inwards, it's up to you. But spin and flick from the very top part here. So I'll flick it this way, flick it this way, flick it this way, flick it this way. Another thing is try not to spin it straight up and down. Make sure you have a 30 to 45 degree angle on your spindle. In the beginning, it might be actually easier to overcompensate that angle, make it spin. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, mine does not spin like that, especially if you have a new supported spindle. If you're having trouble where it's going here, there, and everywhere, here's what I found that worked for me. The first thing was Scotch tape. Insert spindle inside. Spin, spin, practice, practice, practice. Now what this did is when I got a little crazy, it will catch the spindle for you. And it also gives you a side to hold it up against. So I put my spindle up against the side and spin it that way. So I'm not worried about where it's going. It gives me a little bit of space, but also it got me where I felt comfortable flicking it. And again, it's not going to run away. So that was a great suggestion from someone that I can't remember where I saw it. The thing is a coffee mug upside down. Find one that has an edge to it. And spin. If you're still having difficulty where it's going everywhere, put it inside and spin. Now, another great one, if you're having difficulty, medicine container. This is Mr. Ted, our boxer's medicine container. This has a little divot on the inside of it. Which really helped me to get my spin right. And again, if you're having difficulty, inside of it. Now this also, any kind of a little cap. So this is also a CVS cap from that medication. However, Coke, liters, etc. work out nicely as well. Now this might be more expensive. Your TP holder. I joke about expensive. But this is one if you're really struggling and you're really frustrated and you're about to throw the thing away. Put it in a TP holder. Yes, it's going to hold it upright, but it'll give you the feel of the spin of it. So that's one. Now, what worked for me was actually this. This belongs to a bathroom organizer that holds my makeup. There is a hole here in the center, like for a finger. Lift the lid off. And I learned how to do it off this. So again, practice, practice, practice before you put the fiber together. I know you want to jump to the fiber. Heck, I do too. But I learned the hard way of having to go back and practice this. Now, once you get that and you feel comfortable with the spin, let's get complicated, shall we? Let's make a leader. Now, how did I make my leader? I just found some scrap yarn. I tied the two ends together. A little slip knot, like so. Now, mine is probably, I think it's 8 inches in circumference, so 4 inches and 4 inches. But make one that's comfortable for you, but it's not too long. Then what you'll do is on that notch of my support spindle, I will take this, put it in my hand, put said spindle in hand, hold with thumb. And like your parents taught you how to tie your shoes as a kid, here is the rabbit. Hi guys. You can put the rabbit through the hole. So the rabbit just goes through the hole here. Goes straight down through the hole and comes out the other side. Now my support spindle has a notch on it here. So I will pull on the rabbit and it tightens my leader up there. Now, I will put my spindle on its supportive surface. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it and I'm going to hold into my leader. Now, just like a drop spindle, I'm going to spin it to build up the twist through my leader here. I'm going to get a little bit of twist, then I will attach my fiber. So I'm going to actually move this way so you can see it at the moment. Twist, twist, twist. And you see every time I twist it, the fiber is building up in that leader. So what I'll do is I'm going to put my thumb and fingers here just to hold the spindle for just a moment. Then I'm going to grip with my first finger and thumb. Later, I'm going to twist it the opposite direction a little bit just at the end. Why am I going the opposite direction? So I can open it and find this little hole right here. I'm going to make a little hole. So I just basically untwisted the very end of it. While I'm holding the twist, see, the twist is still here. This hasn't gone anywhere. I've just opened up that little spot there. So I will get a piece of pre-drafted fiber. And if you don't know how to pre-draft your fiber, check out one of our videos on how to pre-draft your fiber. I will put my fiber through that hole. I just put my fiber straight through that hole there. I will fold the fiber over so it's touching the other side. And I'm going to hold this little knot with the fiber with my left hand. I'm going to bring it back down. And I'm going to spin. Now this time when I spin, I'm going to pull this back just a little bit so you can. This time when I spin, I'm going to let the twist travel into the fiber here. Now my left hand, because it is pinching, will keep that spin from entering the rest of my fiber supply here. So spin, 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 spin. And you can see this is too much, but so you can see all of that twist has transferred up into the fiber, which has just been attached. So just like spinning normally, I'm going to show you how to park and draft. I'm going to take the right hand, hold that little spot. So I'm going to take the spot where my left hand is. I'm going to pinch right in front of it, and I'm going to let go again. I'm going to draft this out just a little. And I'm going to pick a spot right about here. And I'm going to release with my right hand. When I do that, you'll see the twist then travels this way. I'm going to build a little more twist. Spin, spin, spin. Don't forget to spin it at an angle. Spin, spin, spin. Stop. Now, you might be able to draft without having to park and draft. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to park it again. Right hand pinch right in front of my left hand. Draft back a little bit with my left hand. Let go with my right hand. And again, that twist is going to travel that way. Bring it back down here. Spin, spin, spin. So I can get that. Again, built up. Right hand pinches. Left hand drafts back. Left hand pinches. Right hand releases. Spin, spin, spin. More twist built up through there. I'm going to do this one more time. Pinch with my right hand. Draft back left hand. Pinch. Spin, spin, spin. All right. Now I have this long spin section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to form my cob. I think it should be cob. It's cop. C-O-P. But I think it should be cob, like corn on the cob. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm going to slide this downwards. What I'm going to do then is, now remember, you're going in the clockwise, so my spindle is going this way. I'm going to hold this little spot here with my thumb. So I'm traveling up and over. Hold it with a finger. I'm coming back around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little X here. Now this is a little bit loose, but that is what I make. So I make a little X. Come back around. Make another little X. Come back around. Make another little X. It's just a little pattern. A little X, a little X. And you'll end up with something that starts to look where you've got some X's here and there. This just helps it a little bit neater. Now that I have enough there, you can either bring it back to the top. I'm going to bring mine up just a little bit until it gets a little thicker. Bring it back down to spin. Now I'm going to release the spin from my right hand, my left hand, as I start spinning. So twist, twist, twist is going to build up again. And it's okay if you see this is wrapping around. That's all right. My twist is building back up. Need a park and draft, hold it. Back with my left hand. Let go with my right hand. Spin, spin, spin. Again, it's built back up. Right hand holds. Left hand drafts back and pinches. Bring it back down. Spin, spin, spin. Right hand pinches. Left hand drafts back. Spin, spin, spin. And again, as you get comfortable, you may not even have to stop and pinch. It becomes a more fluid process. Now you can see I have another little bit I'm going to add on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again pull this back down. And I'm going to continue creating my X's. So and there I go. And I'm ready to spin again. Now, you might find some people, like I do, I like just having the one spot here, and then as I start to spin, it'll wrap some of that back on. It really depends on how you like it. Some people like to wrap a little bit of that yarn coming up the stem before they start to spin again. It's really your comfort level there. When you start to spin again, the yarn is actually going to come up towards the tip. It may not go, you can see where my thumb is, all the way to the tip, but it's coming off that tip, off that angle. Now, we'll say this, you might find the easier, the spindle angle matches that where you're holding the yarn angle. So for instance, I'm not holding it down here. I'm holding it very similar to where do you see my spindle? The angle almost looks like a nice line together. Makes it easier to spin. Now, if you put it down here, it's going to make it harder for you to spin. Say it doesn't want to spin like that. So make sure that the angle of the yarn and the angle of the spindle are very similar. That's one way to help you with spinning too, with that. Now, joining your yarn is the same as a support spindle. I will get another little bit here. For the purposes of this demonstration that's easier, you can either lay it on top of the yarn. Some people I know make little V's. And attach the V's this way. It's really up to you. My V's. V here, V here. Like Karma Sutra, they go together. Or Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man. I'm gonna drift back a little bit. Okay. So, join. Spin, spin, spin again. As I'm holding that join together. And draft back a little bit. Left hand. Spin, spin, spin. Draft back. Spin, spin, spin. And if you get one of those weird spots, you can always rub it out a little bit. And spin, spin, spin some more. And that is how to spin on a support spindle. Now we're going to talk about unwinding your yarn. So once you get all that yarn onto your spindle, how do you get it off? It's always a great question, isn't it? So we're going to unwind your spindle. Now there's a couple different ways you can unwind your spindle. The first is you could use a nitty knotty. Now the benefit of using a nitty knotty is that it will tell you how much yardage you have spun. Option number 2 is a yarn swift. Now we do have a really cool way to hack your yarn swift to figure out how much yardage you've spun. And number 3 is a ball winder. So for all of these options, check out the details section of this video for the link to how to unwind your yarn. So now that we have covered support spindles in a variety of different ways, from, yes, you got it, anything from what is it, to supplies, to learn how to spin, and then also how to get help. Let's talk about that now. Now, you can find help in a variety of different areas. One way is that you can check out Camp Yarnsie's virtual, again, spinning group, which we meet on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can get the information, including the link, at yarnsie.com. There's a lot of helpful people in that group, and we always love seeing new faces. So what's coming up next? You can check out the video on unwinding your yarn. And if we've made you happy today, honk your horn, please. How you can do that on social media is you can share us with your fellow Yarnsie friends, throw us a like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We wish you a lot of happiness with your spinning creations, because I'm Lindsay Lichtenstein, founding director of Camp Yarnsie, and as I will say at the end of almost every video, because once a Yarnsie, you're always a Yarnsie.